I know how much you guys love techniques, so today I'm going to show you 4 different cast-ons for different situations, and I'm going to show them all to you with written, spoken, and visual instructions because I know that everybody learns differently, and I want to make sure that everybody can use it. So let's get started. Hello and welcome back to the Knit Life Oils YouTube channel. So today I want to show you guys some of my favorite cast-ons that I use in different situations. And I've been doing something lately where I make my long form videos with written instructions, spoken instructions, and the video visual, obviously. And I really love doing that because I'm an auditory learner, and I know that most people are not. Auditory learners are a small portion of the population, and so I really like to do all of those so that everyone can learn from the same video. I think that that's really helpful. So, 4 different cast-ons for different situations. So I want to start with my favorite cast-on that I use for almost anything, and then I will tell you the different situations that I use the others for. So this is cabled cast on, and this is what it looks like on a finished piece. It's a little bit loopy. It has a nice solid base there, and it's very stretchy. The cast on is not holding anything up. So let's switch to my teaching zone so that I can show you how to do it. Okay, so I like to start all of my cast-ons with a slip knot. Just makes it easy and gives you a nice base to get started. So for cable cast-on, I already have my slip knot here. And then I am going to pull the yarn up and over and knit 1 stitch onto the needle. So that is a knitted cast on. We'll talk about that in a second. And now to do my cabled cast on, now that I have 2 stitches, I'm going to go in between these 2 stitches, wrap my yarn around, and put it on the needle. Let's do it a couple more times. So in between the 2 needles, wrap around, pull up and over. In between the 2 needles, wrap up and around, and over. So now I'm going to show you my favorite thing about this cast on. So I've made my new stitch, right? Now I'm not going to tighten this. I could go like this, and that makes it really tight, right? So instead of that, I am going to, we'll take it off and then I'll show you again. So instead of that, when I make my new stitch, put it on the needle, I'm not going to tighten it down until I get this other needle back between here. Now I can only make it as tight as my needle width. And this makes this cast on all the same needle width apart. So all of your stitches are consistent, but they're also loose enough because they are the width apart of your knitting needle. Okay, so this is a knitted cast on. This is the first cast on. I use this for almost everything. I've used it for cuff down socks, cowls, sweaters, all kinds of things. So that's the first one. I'm going to do the next cast on this needle also so that you can see them compared side by side next to each other. So cabled cast on is a variation of knitted cast on, which is what I'm going to show you next. So knitted cast on, I like to use when, like for example, I'm casting something on to the end of a row. It's really simple to add these extra stitches in. So I'm going to go into the stitch, wrap up and around, just like we did, and then put it back on the needle. Instead of going between like we did for cabled cast on, I'm just going to go into the next stitch. So this gives me a little bit less control on how far apart they are spaced, so I just kind of have to watch my tension on that. But this is really helpful for adding stitches at the end of a row. I love doing that. It makes it super easy. Okay, so now I want you to see the difference. So this is cabled and this is knitted. Do you see where it switches? So this cable has a little bit loopy here, and then this is knitted cast on, and it looks like a knit stitch. Maybe a little bit of a purl bump there at the bottom, right? Okay, so the third one I'm going to show you like this is a backwards loop cast on. And now I like to do this when I need to cast on stitches in the middle of a row. Like on a fingerless mitt, you put stitches onto a holder to make the thumb, right? And so then you need to cast on stitches sometimes to kind of close that gap a little bit. So in that case, I would do a backward loop cast on, and usually I do it from this side. So I'm going to use my thumb, wrap the yarn around my thumb like this, and the rest is just between my fingers, and then go up into the middle and on. And I try to not pull them too tight because then they will be super tight. But it also does leave some yarn between, and that will show up in the cast on if you leave too much. So it's kind of a balancing act. But these are really easy to get on. And especially when they're in the middle of a row, then you don't really see it in the end as much. And so I think that that works out really nicely. So again, we're going to look at these. So here's cable cast on, right? Knitted cast ons here in the middle, and this is backward loop. So you can kind of see the little loops there. It does give kind of a nice little like loopy, and I really like that in the middle of a project. I think it works out really nicely. Okay, so now we are going to do a different kind of cast on. Sometimes you need a provisional cast on, and this is used when you need stitches going in both directions. So you want a cast on that allows you to later join or knit back the other way, like for a cowl or a bag. So let me find my special tool here. Okay, here it is. So you can use waste yarn for this, but my trick lately is that I like using knit extension cords. Mine are from Twice You're Cheap, and I will put a link in the caption of this video. And so I use knit extension cord instead of waste yarn, because then when I'm done and I need these stitches from the provisional cast on, I just insert the needle into the cord and slip them right back on. There's no picking up, there's no digging out the stitches, so that's great. So to start the provisional cast on, I am going to make these into a knot together, and they'll come right back out later. So we just kind of make a loose knot like this. And then I'm going to take my needle and put my needle right in between these two strands. And I'm going to loop the working yarn over my thumb and the extension cord, waste yarn, whatever, over my index finger. And then I'm going to go like this. So I'm going to go down through the center, pick up the working yarn, over and around, back through to the center. Okay? So now I've cast on 2 stitches. Down through the middle, pick up the working yarn, over and around, and back through. Okay? Down, pick up the working yarn, over the waste yarn, extension cord, extra cable, come back around, back through the middle. Okay, one more time. Down through, up, over and around, back around the working yarn, 2 stitches. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And this leaves live stitches here. Do you see these live stitches that are on the extension cord? So then you just take out the knot, and then you would slip your needle back into here when you need these stitches. I also wanted to give you a real life example of provisional cast on. So this is a knot bag by Pearl Soho. And I love these because they're just easy to carry. But see the bottom of this bag? It was done using a provisional cast on. So when I did this cast on, I used the knit extension cord like I just showed you. And then I was able to knit this whole bag. And then when I was done, I went back and used the live stitches from the extension cord to do a Kitchener stitch, 3 needle bind off, whatever I wanted to close the bottom of this bag. So it is a seamless bottom because of a provisional cast on. Pretty cool, right? So that is a use for a provisional cast on. I've done it for cowls to join them later, or bags, sometimes tank tops, things like that. Okay, so just to review really quick. So 4 cast-ons for different situations. Cable cast-on, I use all the time for almost anything. Knitted cast-on, I like to use this primarily to cast on stitches at the end of a row or the beginning of a row. That happens sometimes on shawls or sweaters. 3, backward loop cast on. I love using this to cast on stitches in the middle of a row. Pockets on a cardigan are a great example. Backward loop cast on is great. And number 4, that is called an invisible provisional cast on, and it gives you live stitches on both sides. So essentially you can knit in both directions whenever you need to. So I hope that was helpful. Save this video for the next time you're in one of these situations and need a cast on. And make sure to come back to my channel, and I will talk to you soon.